Over 1,000 Ukrainian towns and villages remain cut off from electricity after 10 days of Russian strikes that have targeted energy facilities across the country.
An investigation into the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline leak has revealed at least 50 metres of it has been destroyed or buried in the Baltic seafloor.
The EU announces proposals on market intervention to deal with spiralling energy prices.
Over 100,000 cross-industry workers marched across France for higher wages on Tuesday amid the requisitioning of strikers at fuel refineries. No running water, no electricity, no basic services. The Kremlin's new strategy targeting energy infrastructure has plunged thousands of Ukrainians into darkness and the cold. The hardest hit are those living in devastated areas, like the recaptured eastern town of Kupiansk, which is still under attack and just 10 kilometres from the front line. A spokesperson for the state's emergency services says Russian shelling has left 1,162 settlements without power, including some areas in the occupied territories. Meanwhile, the Russian Defence Ministry has released footage of its tanks in Ukraine, launching strikes on frontline targets. Military spokesperson Igor Konashenkov says troops have made their first gains in the Kharkiv region since Moscow's troops were pushed back in a sweeping counter-offensive. In the southern port city of Mykolaiv, emergency services are searching for people buried in the rubble of an apartment block after it was hit by a missile on Tuesday morning. Back in the capital, residents are still reeling after explosive-laden suicide drones allegedly supplied by Iran struck several apartment blocks. Amid a mammoth clean-up operation, Ukraine's foreign minister has proposed that President Zelensky cut ties with Tehran for what it says is complicity in the crimes of Russian aggression. But Iran says it has not provided weapons to Moscow.
The ongoing investigation into the leaks of 2 Nord Stream gas pipelines has revealed at least 50 metres of one has been destroyed or buried in the seafloor. An act of sabotage. That's what joint Western authorities say about the pipe damage, which links Russia and Germany via the Baltic Sea. The Kremlin also believes it was deliberate.
One can only express regret that the entire investigation process is taking place behind closed doors, without permission to participate, without interaction with the Russian side. We do not have the opportunity to actually carry out work on the spot in order to conduct our own investigation. And most importantly, according to the statements that we hear from Germany, France and Denmark, this investigation is set out to put the responsibility on Russia.
The pipelines have become a flashpoint in the war in Ukraine. Germany and Sweden have stepped up maritime patrols in the Baltic to boost security. The 4 leaks occurred in international waters, but within the exclusive economic zone of Denmark and Sweden.
The ongoing crisis as a result of soaring and unstable energy prices is still a huge problem for the European Union. Ahead of winter, the EU is proposing a new set of measures aimed at reducing the cost for citizens and companies. One of them is to reduce price volatility on the main index used to set gas prices, the Title Transfer Facility, or TTF.
The element that we are now putting on the table is the market correction mechanism. So, again, to take out the speculation and the volatility of the TTF market benchmark, that is no more representative. And this will have a taming effect on the prices, the gas prices that are traded in the European Union.
This mechanism will establish a dynamic price limit for transactions on the TTF benchmark. In the medium term, Brussels also wants to create a benchmark only for liquefied natural gas to complement the one used until now, the TTF, which the Commission says is no longer reflecting the market situation. In addition, and to protect supply and price, the EU wants to make it mandatory for member states to buy at least 15% of their gas for storage through a joint purchase to avoid outbidding each other. At the same time, the Commission also wants to increase energy solidarity among countries in the EU to avoid shortages during this winter. For now, there are only 6 solidarity agreements in place, but the EU wants this number to rise to around 40 through default solidarity rules within the treaties. And after several months of facing pressure from EU governments, the Commission says it's now ready to start a debate for other proposals, like the introduction of the so-called Iberian exception, which caps the price of gas used to produce electricity, available only for Spain and Portugal, but potentially brought to an EU level, something the Commission was reluctant to examine for several months. The proposals and other ideas, like a cap on gas prices, will be discussed by EU leaders at a meeting at the end of the week. Shona Murray, Euronews, Brussels.
Too little and too late. This is basically how many MEPs here in the European Parliament see the announcement of the European Commission on high energy prices. One of their main arguments is that Europe had 8 months to act, because since the start of the war on Ukraine, many people realized that Russia is willing to use energy as a weapon against Ukraine. But Brussels was late with the answer, and they waited until the energy prices hit record levels. This is one argument made by Belgian MEP Guy Verhofstadt. I talked to him earlier.
What I expected was already months ago a global proposal by the Commission to tackle this energy crisis, because there are different aspects in it. There is the common purchase, so to have enough energy, that's one thing. There is the lack of investment in renewables and in the grids, because there are still problems there. And there is then the assistance that is absolutely needed for households and for companies.
So Mr. Verhofstadt, together with dozens of other MEPs, made a new proposal to the head of the European Commission. In a letter they signed, they proposed that the EU should take a common credit, a common loan to finance the high energy bills of the people and also of the companies. This could be one way to avoid a social crisis this winter in Europe, according to those MEPs. Sándor Zsíros, Euronews, Strasbourg.
The German government's head of cybersecurity, Arnd Schönbohm, has been sacked for his alleged links to Russian espionage. The Interior Ministry is investigating the claims but has not given any details.
Mir ist die Cybersicherheit in Deutschland sehr wichtig.
Cybersecurity in Germany is very important to me. I have reiterated that many times. A few weeks ago, I presented a plan on cybersecurity and indicated, especially because of the threat of war from Russia and how vulnerable we are, that we must do everything we can to meet this threat. That's why it has a very special focus, and we are studying all necessary, possibly necessary steps. In my view, there is nothing more to say on the matter.
Schönbohm had faced intense scrutiny after his potential links to a Russian company were brought to light on a popular late-night TV show. Before his government appointment, he had helped set up and run the private association Cybersecurity Council Germany. Schönbohm is said to still have close ties to it. One of its members was a subsidiary company of a Russian firm reportedly founded by an ex-member of the KGB. He will be presumed innocent while the investigation is carried out.
Thousands of transport workers, school teachers and medical staff across France took to the streets on Tuesday demanding higher wages to match rising inflation. After weeks of disruptive walkouts, the CGT union representing refinery workers at Total Energies oil refineries rejected the company's offer of a 7% pay rise. Leading the protest, Secretary-General Philippe Marines called for a 20% increase to minimum wage.
What we are asking for is an increase in wages, an increase in minimum wage and a sliding scale of wages from the government. And then negotiation in these companies without delay to meet the demand of workers without waiting for a strike.
Although there were no widespread disruptions to public transport, unions have warned more industrial action is coming. The strikes have become President Macron's biggest challenge yet since he was re-elected last May. Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne told protesters that it's unacceptable that a minority continues to block the country. In Paris, protesters clashed with riot police, resulting in 11 arrests. According to the Interior Minister, 4 people were arrested elsewhere and 9 officers injured.